So I'll start with the first one, and I'll introduce him. He is the music director at ICGC Christ Temple, an author of a book titled Mascara, a musician at core, and the founder of SEEK International. With a speech titled Man and Mascara, please help me welcome Toastmaster Kenneth Wanya.
Okay, so Ivan, thanks for the introduction. Unfortunately I have to change the title because this is my speech. So as usual, I'm not prepared for this speech, and that has been pretty much my story throughout my entire life. And so I quickly put together a title, and the title is Journey to Leadership. I really don't know what fascinates me about leadership, but I just get excited when I hear the word. I was born with, I remember seeing a picture of me when I was a little boy, and I had like a lot of afro. But then, ironically, today I'm a bit bald, and that's something I'm a bit uncomfortable with. My parents were into music. My mom was in the choir, and my dad was the music director. And so I would say that I grew up in a music home or in a music family. I remember when I was given the opportunity to sing in church, I was a very little boy with my afro. And the first song I ever sang, and maybe that was the only song, was From a Distance. And I'm sure most of us know that song. I remember while singing, people were just amazed by the fact that this little boy with this very piercy voice was singing and enjoying so much what he was doing. And so people started, in church, in our part of the world, when people like what you're doing in church, they want to give offerings. And so everybody started throwing money and all that. And while singing, I remember picking the money from the ground. And so right after singing, I just quickly pocketed everything. And I think I was becoming a businessman at that time instead of being a song minister. I was losing focus. So I'm going to navigate this journey through school and everything, and also tie it in with how I have come to develop myself as a leader. I mean, I'm not there yet, and it's a tough journey. So moving on to primary school, everybody said I had a big nose, and so everybody used to call me Bob Nose, and that's a name I've never forgotten. But then I was still everyone's favorite, and I was everyone's favorite because I was a self-taught piano player, and I mean, playing the piano, one thing is that you get to interact with everybody, sing along, play along, and so it's like you're the teacher's favorite, you're everyone's favorite. And I remember in piano school, I mean, my dad took me to a piano school, although I would say that I am self-taught. The owner of the school used to basically advertise using my skills. So even though I didn't learn directly from him, he would always tell people, "Come and see this boy play. Yes, I trained him. So you should bring your son. You should bring your daughter." And I enjoyed it because I guess I just enjoyed the music aspect of the whole thing. So I didn't really care much. I didn't care much that I was being patronized. Moving on to secondary school, I acquired the name Archimedes because I loved mathematics, and I was always having my school bag, my shorts, knicker, my shoe. And I also got a name in senior high school, and that was Mr. Shoe, because everybody believed that I had the biggest shoe in school. So to date, I still have the name Mr. Shoe because I mean, those of my friends from that era. But I think I enjoy Archimedes better. So I had a very embarrassing moment in senior high school. I remember in the assembly hall, and that was in Chemo Secondary School. I remember walking through a crowd through the alley, and then everyone was looking at me. I was like, okay, am I the superstar for today or something? What's happening? Like, do I look that good? So I was just walking through, and then eventually someone goes like, your flap is open. So I just immediately ran, I ran into a room. I was so embarrassed. Like that was like, I think that was the most embarrassing moment of my life. But then there was an experience that has never left me till date. And this is a turning point in my journey because it's a bit sad. I remember one time, my school was a day school. It wasn't a boarding school, Chemo Secondary School. So I remember one day dressing up to leave for school. My dad passed a statement, and my dad is very strict. He's the one who is always prim and proper. So, and I was a very careless person. I mean, so he made a statement that hit me, and he was like, if anybody should choose, okay, what he said was that because of the way I'm always unkempt and I'm always haphazard, nobody is going to choose me as their leader in anything. And I know he was making that statement to prove a point, to teach me a lesson. But that statement has stayed with me throughout my life. And every time I have been given a leadership role after that, I have felt very inadequate. I felt very inadequate. I was always asking myself, whose fault is it? I mean, maybe if you took me to boarding school, I would know how to iron well, I would know how to do stuff well. So whose fault is it anyways? But then, I mean, I was a day student and I didn't know the rudiments of waking up early, lay your bed and all that. But I guess those of you who went to good boarding schools have had that advantage over me. So still on the journey of leadership. Right after secondary school, I started, I loved reading. And so there was a competition by Tigo. And so that was when Seek International was bet. I just felt, okay, Seek, search everything and knowledge. Okay, I like to read. And so I might as well just share my passion of reading with people. And the competition, I didn't win, but I made it into the final, I think 30 and all that. So I felt very encouraged by the fact that, okay, this is something that can actually go somewhere. My time is almost up. So I moved on into the university. But then fast forward, I met I met my wife, and that was a turning point for me because I got to understand the word prudence, and for me that has really transformed me as a leader because I've always heard the word prudence, wisdom, prudence, but for me, I really appreciate the word prudence now because she really taught me the value of always being prepared. Because as usual, for this speech, I was not prepared, and that is Ken. Ken is never prepared. But then, I mean, I always find a way to get things done, and so I think that I have developed, as a better leader because mostly because of my wife, because of the value of being prudent in a lot of things. I mean, I always have to wash my hands immediately I get home, else I'm not touching anything. We've had long walks through the market. If we don't get things done, you are not eating. And these are lessons that have taught me a lot about prudence and being a good leader. And so, in general, or in summary, this is my journey. I mean, on leadership or to leadership, and it's an interesting journey. I can't wait to discover more of what life is going to throw at me. So, in a nutshell, if you don't remember anything, just try to forget Mr. Shu and remember Archimedes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there you go. This is Toastmasters. Ken told me he doesn't know what to say in 4 minutes. He's done more than 6 minutes. Toastmasters will help you know exactly what to say. Just as Ken needs Toastmasters, I believe each and everyone on this call needs Toastmasters. It will help you know how to organize your speech so that you don't start with sing along, come and see you, Archimedes, Mr. Shu. Oh, Chemu Secondary, an experience that just will always clap for you. A round of applause for Ken, please. Wonderful. So we go to the second speaker. And perhaps the only way to introduce him is to spell that word, S-M-I-L-E. Ladies and gentlemen, just smile because he's a dentist by profession and doing a project that is, he has titled Leading Yourself. I present to you Toastmaster Isaac Akotoe. Over to you, Isaac.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I must say, when it comes to leadership, the world is a collage of various styles, with each style aiming at moving those being led from a lower ladder rank to a higher one. This is a quote I came up with. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Isaac Akotoye Koku, and I'm here to give you a speech titled Leading Yourself. Have we heard of the adage, variety is the spice of life? Can I see people alluding to the fact by nodding, which means a yes in this case? Then I must pose a question. What is your leadership style? If you look around us, the world abounds with a lot of leaders. From the recent new invention of leadership called Trumpism to the man who gave us democracy, President Abraham Lincoln. Out of this abundance, out of this variety, you have to ask yourself, what is your leadership style? This was the question I asked myself when it came to my goal and objective of becoming an effective communicator and leader. These two goals, becoming an effective communicator and effective leader, was one of the main reasons why I joined the Toastmasters community, to find out how I could develop myself. Ladies and gentlemen, out of this search, I came to the Toastmasters website where I was supposed to take a leadership assessment. There were a lot of questions, interesting questions, I must admit, that involved me grading myself. I did. And at a point in time, I'll share with you my beautiful results. But there was one thing I noticed, that we live in a world where the interpretation you give to things is based on the foundation or the perspective with which you look at your things, and leadership is no exception. So when it came to my test, the Toastmasters program gave me this result from my questions. I'll encourage all of us to draw in closer and have a look at it. There is something wonderful happening with the results. If you look closely, you would see the first three gave me a score of 22, 22, 22, and the subsequent one, 21, 21, 21. If you tally this, you would realize that there are 8 leadership styles within the Toastmasters community. These are the affiliative, democratic, innovative, coaching, altruistic, authoritative, pace-setting, and last but not the least, bureaucratic. Now to expatiate on this, for me, I realized from the result that I was 3 things. I was affiliative, democratic, and innovative. What do I mean? I simply am trying to tell you my leadership style was a combination of this. Something that brought about the thought and the idea that in the variety of life and within the circumstances that one will find him or herself, you would realize you cannot always fall to one particular leadership style. I have used the affiliative leadership style in my setting, that is the hospital environment, where I needed to create harmony between myself, my team of nurses, and the patient. When it comes to democratic style, when I needed to build consensus, when it came to falling to the right treatment plan, I sometimes had to seek the advice of my superiors, sometimes my junior or subordinates. And the innovative, I do remember one day we had an interesting case where we had done everything within the contemporary medical sense. However, all seemed to fail. Surprisingly, something struck into my mind like a bolt of thunder.
Yes, man.
I had an epiphany. That was, let's twerk it here. And we did. we came up with a new way, and we applied that to our subsequent treatment of patients. Ladies and gentlemen, I term my leadership style, my perfect leadership style, by the abbreviation AFFIDI, which stands for affiliative, democratic, and innovative. The immersion, this flexibility, gives me a perfect leadership in the middle. This is to tell you that if you are supposed to become the best leader and communicator, not just the mundane, but to have that impetus, you need to be flexible. You need to know when to apply the various leadership styles. That is what will set you aside from the daily normal leaders. There may be situations where affiliated may not work or democratic may not work, and you may need to fall to the coaching leadership style or the bureaucratic. In conclusion, I want to say that each and every one of us, we are all born leaders. Each and every single one of us. But most of us lose that ability and power of leading ourselves to someone else. In short, we become a follower. There is nothing wrong with being, but you need to learn how to lead yourself. For Socrates said, "Man, know thyself." Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, if you are on this call, I would encourage you to take the crucial and initial crucial step of knowing yourself, learning how to lead. How? By joining the Toastmasters program, where you learn to become an effective communicator and leader. And for those of us who are already in the Toastmasters community, this is a wake-up call for us to learn our various leadership styles. I have learned mine. I have started applying it to the various situations. The question now is, have you learned yours? Mr. Toastmaster, over to you.
Madam Toastmaster, indeed, it is what happens when a physician decides to be a philosopher. But I don't blame you. It is only with might and main that you can do such a wonderful delivery. Wow, I am super excited because he happens to be my mentee. And that is one aspect of Toastmasters you also get. The moment you come on board, members within the community are going to avail themselves and support you so you can grow from step to step until you can find your feet and also decide to mentor others. Thank you very much, Dr. Akotoye. Thank you. We get to the part that makes me super excited. In fact, I carry everything there is under the atmosphere with might and main because I love table topics. When I called the man I'm about to introduce and told him, I want you to be the table topics master, he asked, what is table topics master? So permit me to explain that briefly. Imagine you went to a wedding and the MC walks up to you with a microphone on and said, sir, can you please say a word or two to the bride and groom? Everybody watching on. Would you want to turn off the microphone? Certainly not. You would have to say something. That is a table topics moment. What do you say to make sense without disgracing yourself? I'm sure you definitely not leave your flap open like Ken did, but that's fine. Or let's go to the corporate setting in the boardroom where your MD is seated at the head of the table and a topic or a subject that is not on the agenda pops up and they are calling for views. And the man looks straight at you and says, Anita, what do you have to say about this? That is Toastmasters. Table topics staring right at you. Without saying further, I would like at this point to invite the man who will be leading us for the next 10 minutes through this table topics session. I almost said Toastmaster, but I think that is in order. Mr. Nana Afriye. Over to you, Nana.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you very much for this great opportunity. This evening, I find it a great joy, a privilege to be part of this great program. What I want us to talk about is resilience. The capacity, with a little research that I did, resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. We all know what is happening now with coronavirus. Everybody is going through one difficulties or the other. So I believe this is the time for us to encourage ourselves. This is the time for us to motivate ourselves. This is the time to support ourselves so that we'll be able to move from one strength to the other. Resilience is also about being able to build our minds or emotions to cope with crisis. Still boils back to the coronavirus. People have lost their jobs. People are finding it difficult to pay their fees, and a whole lot of things are happening. So this is the time again to encourage ourselves. So with a little things I would want us to go through, some few pointers I jotted down. In this year, 2021, with coronavirus, we have to be deliberate about our intentions. Whatever we are doing, being our finances, being our family, being our studies, we should be able to be intentional so that we'll be able to achieve something for ourselves in the year 2021. We should also be thorough with the processing of information. We all know that a lot of things are happening. Conspiracy theories are being thrown out there. So we should choose the kind of informations we listen to, being it on radio and being it on television. Also, we should learn to practice mindfulness. There's a book I'm reading called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It says mindfulness, the audacity or state of being conscious or aware of something, focusing on the present while calming ourselves down. So we should learn to be able to calm ourselves down in the midst of pandemic because of what is happening.
Hello, Nana. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Are we going to have you invite members to respond to your topics, please? Or you want to handle everything? That's fine if that's what you want to do.
Okay.
So the idea is here you get to invite members to present on thought that you have prepared. That is the whole idea for table topics. Your microphone is muted, please. And the Toastmasters on the call, please bear with him. He's a seeker. This is his first time. I think our rehearsal didn't go right. Please, your microphone is muted.
Am I on, please?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Today be my first time. I'm here to learn.
That's permissible. Yeah, that's why I had to quickly come in.
My first time, probably I might have gone overboard. Yeah. But then what I want is, I started talking about resilience. So probably if any of us can share a little bit about it.
Right.
Thank you.
And let me say that whoever volunteers to speak has 1 to 2 minutes, because the timer will be keeping time and give us report at the end of the day. But you have to control here. So let me step back so you do your job, sir.
Oh.
Okay, I would want to assist Nana on this occasion. Anybody on the call who wants to speak, I want to invite some people. Michelle, are you there? Okay, I see Robin. Robin.
Yeah, okay.
In 1 to 2 minutes, let's hear your view on resilience, as in the context as Nana presented.
Okay, give me a second. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, we can.
All right, I believe that the word resilience, it's a very powerful word. It's a very significant word if you want to be a successful person in life, if you want to improve upon yourself, if you want to make progress in any field of endeavor whatsoever. Despite general issues like COVID-19 that may affect your personal plans for your life and all, resilience is something that you need. And for me, that embodies that word for me is Dr. Benjamin Carson. I've actually spent a lot of time reading a lot about his story and all. And I think that usually when people hear about him, they hear about what his mother did for him. The fact that his mother went to the library to ensure that he and his younger brother are registered and everything so that they can read books every week in order to improve upon themselves in school. But then when I read about his book, Gifted Hands, I observed that although his mother had a very important role to play in his improvement and everything, he had a resilient character in the sense that he had a lot of pitfalls. He, at a point in time, he was the only Black neurosurgeon at that particular hospital he was working at. And in spite of that, he still pursued and went forth. Even when certain patients refused to let him do his work because he was a Black person. So, and narrowing down to COVID-19 and all, I think that COVID-19 has disrupted. Oh, my time is up already. Wow. COVID-19 has disrupted a lot of things that is happening in Ghana. And many of us, not only in Ghana, in the world at large, but many of us made a lot of plans and all, and it's not really happening as we expect that. But one thing that separates us and one thing that separates people who are successful in life from those who are not is that after they fall, after they encounter setbacks in their plans and resolutions, they still make a point to start again, to come back, to break through, to try one more time. And I think that for me, that's what that word means to me. Thank you.
The power to bounce back when things do not go right the first time. Thank you very much, Robin. And just to add to what you're reading, please check the date in which the book was published and put it in the right context. A lot has changed from that time till now. The next person will be Sandra is sharing her screen. Okay, so then I'll go back to Nana to respond to this particular topic with might and main, hopefully. Nana, you are a member of SEEK. Can you please tell us what the meaning of SEEK is, S-E-E-K?
Oh. Come on. I will be honest with you here.
Yes.
I frankly speaking,
no. Right. Is there anybody who can bail him out?
I know that SEEK International, it's about a reading association I have joined.
Point well made. I'm trying to save your face. So, Rita, would you want to help and bail Nana out here?
My director is here and he disgraced me like that. So
In Toastmasters, there is nothing like disgrace. We all learn, we have fun,
no.
and then we make it. Retak, would you please want to help Nana on this occasion, please? No, nobody coming for. Somebody should help me here. Ken, whom should
All
I
right,
call?
so
No,
SEEK
no,
International.
Robin, you've had your turn. I beg your pardon. Everybody
Okay,
should.
sorry.
Ken, please call the shot. Who can save the image here? That's why
Okay,
it's on the call.
this is really like I'm actually crying. Right? This is funny.
Oh my God, so
Okay,
sorry.
So let's try Deborah. Let's ask Deborah.
Hi, Deborah. SEEK International. SEEK. What's the acronym? What does it mean? As a matter of fact, it came up when Ken was speaking.
So it says seek everything and knowledge.
Seek everything and knowledge. SEEK. Thank you very much, Debbie. And what has been the experience being a seeker so far? In 1 to 2 minutes, of course, you already have started. Your time has started.
Well, during my childhood, I loved reading. Like whatever I lay my hand on, I wanted to read, and I would say it was so bad to the extent that it was affecting my studies because once I lay my hand on a storybook or novel, I want to finish reading before doing any other thing.
Right.
And
Now,
as I grew, I began to take the fact that I loved reading for granted in the sense that I thought I loved reading, so I didn't have to make a commitment to always read. And so recently, a year ago, I realized I'd given up my love for reading without even realizing it. And joining SEEK International with the monthly book readings, I started making a conscious effort to read. And I can confidently say that I'm not as good as I was when I was a child, but now at least I think it's better than it has been for a lot for some time now.
previously.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deborah. At this point, on that note, I ask each and everyone on the call to unmute so we have a little exercise. Everyone, please unmute. Let's have this little exercise. When I say SEEK International, when I say SEEK,
Everything.
okay. All right. So when I say seek everything, and then you respond, and is that a fair deal? Seek everything.
And knowledge.
Everything.
And knowledge.
Okay, the last time, seek everything. Thank you very much. You would want to unmute. And in Toastmasters, each and every club has a slogan. If you go to Accra Toastmasters, they will respond first among equal. If you come to Gladiators, they will tell you we shine. If you go to airport, they say we are the finished and we rise from the ashes, and so forth. I want to propose that when your club is eventually charted, your slogan will be seek everything and knowledge. On this occasion, I come back into my role as the Toastmaster of the day and invite the general evaluator to lead her team for them to give us their report. Over to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So I'm back with my team. In addition to the individuals that I introduced earlier, I have a set of evaluators who would be responsible for giving feedback to Ken, and pardon me, I forget the name, but our second speaker. But first and foremost, to evaluate Ken's speech, we have Selassie Ataja. Selassie is the president of Accra Toastmasters, and he will be giving Ken his evaluation. Selassie, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dan. So, is Mr. Shu here? Sorry, Archimedes. Are you here?
I'm right here.
Nice one, Mr. Shu. No, Archimedes. The purpose of your speech is for you to introduce yourself to the club and for us to get to know you. In addition to that, you also to learn the basics of the structure of a public speech. I'm going to evaluate you on both your content and then your context, but I'll be mixing it up. So please bear with me on that. Now, did the audience get to know you? I'd say yes, to a very large extent. You grew up in a music family. You shared memories of your childhood. You told us that you are a self-taught piano player, and you are married. But what is more important to me is the way you described the two turning points in your life. I believe it was very great. Now, what you excelled at in this speech, I believe your confidence. I loved your confidence. You were very good. You were very soft-spoken. You were very present. And you mentioned that you hadn't prepared that much, but it will be very hard to believe because the content was so much on point. I love the fact that you infused humor in your speech. What I remember is you saying that when you were being showered with money, instead of you to focus on the singing, you were rather focusing on the money, and that was the business aspect of you and not the song minister aspect of you. And I laughed. Your speech was very engaging. I do not know about the other members here, but you kept me hooked from the beginning to the end. And it's not because I am your evaluator. Being honest with you, I was hooked. If I was your evaluator and I wasn't hooked, I would tell you, but you did well on that. What you may want to work on, I believe your timing. To borrow a naughty quote from Winston Churchill, he says that a good speech should be like a woman's skirt. It should be long enough to cover the subject and short enough to create interest. Time should be your friend if you really want to have a lot to say. So next time, please put it in a very great timing context, just so that you don't lose the audience in the long term as far as your speech is concerned. You may also want to work on your vocal variety, meaning that you have to infuse strategically your tone, your speed, and then your volume in a manner that would make your speech more engaging. I believe you have a gift. So to challenge yourself, please prepare very well for your next speech. You obviously possess a flair of speaking and do not require much might and main. You have a gift. Please let Toastmasters hone it well. And I can't wait to hear your next speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Selassie.
Thank you very much, Selassie, for your feedback. We have to evaluate our second speaker, Isaac Gifty Edujemfi. Gifty, you may go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. Isaac,
Hello.
Congratulations on your speech. And I must commend you for delivering your speech with might and main. Now, we may want to remind ourselves with the purpose of Isaac's speech. In Toastmasters, every project, you have a space within which you have to deliver that project. And Isaac's project was for him to identify his primary leadership style and relate it to some aspects of his life. I must commend you because you excelled by identifying your primary leadership style. And in this case, you scored the same number for 3. And so you are a typical affiliative, democratic, and innovative leader. And so you excelled by identifying your style and also relating it with different situations in your career. You did mention that at different aspects of your career, you needed to employ either one of your primary leadership style, which I think you did so well on. You may want to work on your gestures. Your hands were all over the place. We believe in using gestures to project our important point, and that is the catchphrase, project important point. But if your hand is all over the place, it distracts from your main messages. So to challenge yourself, I would suggest you keep recording yourself when you are delivering your speech and know when and where to employ your hand gestures. Congratulations again, and I look forward to your next speech.
Thank you very much, Madam Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Gifty, for that very constructive feedback. And just to balance the equation, Gifty is also the president of JL Toastmasters, another club within Ghana. And at this point, I'm going to call back the first set of members of my team to give their reports on how this meeting went. So first, I would like to invite Sandra to give us her grammarian and accounter report.
Hi. Thank you very much, Madam GE. And I'm just going to jump straight to the grammarian's report. But before I do that, I want to commend us all for keeping the session very, very refreshing. I had a little trouble trying to scribble down all the fresh words that we all introduced during the session. So thank you all for making the session very, very refreshing. Evans, at the beginning of your introduction, you used the word gusto, which means enthusiasm. And this is the stuff we said, right? So the things that we did, the advanced words, sorry, that we introduced. Turning point used by Kenneth, which means a time at which a decisive change in a situation occurs. Then also use the phrase prim and proper, which means always behaves in a correct way, haphazard, lacking any obvious principle or organization. Then unkempt, which is untidy or messy. You also use the phrase, or you also use the word rudiments in the phrase, you did not know the rudiments of something, which means that you did not know the essentials or the basics of something. Then prudence, which is acting with or showing care and thoughts for the future. Then to Isaac, our second speaker. Isaac, you also completely blew me away with a lot of good grammar. Collage, he said the whole world is a collage of something. I thought it was a very interesting metaphor in expressing or doing that comparison. So a very clever way of saying an album or a collection of something. Alluding to the fact that, which means to suggest or to hint to something. Epiphany, which is revelation. Mundane, which means lacking excitement or interest, quite the opposite of our word or our phrase of the day today. Impetus, which is the force or energy with which a body moves, or like a momentum. Then to Robin, also used two interesting words, pitfalls, which is risk or a problem. Then also narrowing down, which I thought was also an interesting idiomatic expression, which means to decline or to degenerate. The word of the day was used. I managed to pen down Evans's use of the word of the day 3 times, and by Gifty also once. Sorry. Now to the things we didn't say too right. To our first speaker, Kenneth, I think that just for the purposes of concise English, instead of saying I was a piano player, you may just want to say I was a pianist. Then also, Isaac said, these 2 goals. I think the correct phrase should have been these 2 goals, because we're talking about the plural form of goals. Then also, last but not the least. I think it's a very common error we usually make. The correct phrase is last but not least. Then also use a very interesting word, expatiate. However, you mispronounced the word and said expatiate. I think it's also another commonly mispronounced word. The correct pronunciation is expatiate and not expatiate. It means to write or speak in detail. Then also, my leadership was a combination of this. Combination just goes to say, or it just goes to show that you're talking about more than one thing. So my leadership was a combination of these, not this. Then also, Nane Friye said boils back. I'm not quite familiar with that phrase. What I know is boils down to. Then also, I noticed that when our Toastmaster for the day asked us to unmute our mics and chant the meaning of seek, I heard a lot of us saying knowledge. I think the correct pronunciation is knowledge. So seek everything and what's the other word? Something knowledge. I forgot.
Search everything and knowledge.
Search everything and knowledge. Great. Thank you very much. Then to the accountant's report. I think I really also want to commend us all for keeping it very sane. I didn't quite get a lot of filler words and filler sounds, but the few I managed to pen down, I'd like to just share them with you. Papa, at the beginning of his introduction, even before I introduced myself, I had already started work. He used 1M. Then also, Robin was very tilted to the filler sound. M, I spotted about seven of them in your speech, your miniature speech. Then also Deborah used M once. Then crutch words. Evans, I think at the beginning of your statement, or he also said, sorry, that wasn't Evans, that was Kenneth. When you were responding to Evans, you said, yeah, so, thank you. You really could have just said thank you without the yeah and the so. Those words were very redundant. Then also, when somebody said he was like, I didn't quite get the person. I think like here has been used as a crutch. So that should be taken note of. Then overused words, Kenneth again, but then, I mean, I think you'd have just gone with but then, and then proceed with your statement. It really just makes the whole phrase very concise and easy to assimilate. And finally, you said, in a nutshell, generally, when you were trying to conclude your speech, you could have just gone with generally or in a nutshell. And that brings me to the end of the accounting report. I really want to thank you all for making this session very interesting. Thank you, and Madam General Evaluator, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sandra, for your delivery of our use of grammar and the filler words. We move over to Bright, who will be giving us an account of how well we managed our time.
All right, thank you very much, Danswa. The meeting started right on time. We began at 6:01 p.m. And that is in true Toastmasters tradition. We always start on time, and this was a true reflection of that. For our speakers, starting with Kenneth. Ken, I really enjoyed your speech. In fact, as an audience member, I thought it was a brilliant speech, quite riveting. But then as your timer, I'm afraid to say you could maybe do better next time, because you had to give your speech between 4 to 6 minutes, and you ended up at 7 minutes and 34 seconds. So kindly work on that next time. Isaac, another wonderful speech we heard from you tonight. You also went a little over time. You gave us 8 minutes and 9 seconds. One thing in Toastmasters, and you would come to realize, is that as you advance more as a speaker, you realize you need fewer words in order to make impact. And that is the goal that we are striving for now. So in time, you would learn to get better with maintaining your time and speaking using fewer words. A word to the wise, they say, it's always enough. Now, table topic session, which was headed by the very delightful Nana. Nana, unfortunately, looked as if you weren't quite aware of what the role demanded. So you may have skewed things a bit, like way to the side than it was supposed to have gone. But we all together, I think table topics came in at 13 minutes, a bit over time, but we would deal. Robin gave us 2 minutes and 44 seconds with his speech. Robin, one thing I noticed was when the red card came up, you made mention of it. You sort of panicked. You were like, oh, my time is up. It's something you would learn later on, that it's not really recommended you do so. You just have to silently acknowledge that your time is up in here and then move on. That's how we do it. Nana started with trying to explain what SEEK was, and fell short. Somehow came in at 42 seconds, even though we couldn't quite grasp what SEEK was. But then he was built by Debbie, who started up with 5 seconds. Then, as any good or as any effective table topics master does, Evans was able to prod you on until you gave an additional 1 minute and 20 seconds. Good job on that. With the evaluators, Selassie came in at 2 minutes and 58 seconds, just a second shy of the optimum time. And Gipsy as well gave us 1 minute and 49 seconds, a little too short of the minimum time required for evaluation. And I felt that was a lost opportunity to give more out to the speaker. But all in all, I think we've done fairly well. We maybe gone a little over time, but it's fine. This is just a demo meeting, we should not be too hard on ourselves. So thank you very much, and back to you, Danswa.
Thank you very much, Bright, and to all the other evaluators within this session. I conclude the evaluation session with my evaluation of the overall meeting. First and foremost, I would say that I am thoroughly impressed at the outcome of today's meeting. This is my first virtual demo meeting, and to see the numbers comparable to what you would see in an in-house or in-person meeting is very commendable, particularly for all the seekers who are here with us. So maybe you can give yourself a virtual round of applause. And I also would like to commend the organizer, chief of which is Evans Edujemfi, for pulling together this meeting, and all the executives that are here. We have numerous existing Toastmasters, 2 of whom are club presidents. And I think that it's a yeoman's job for bringing them all in together. Now, the objective of this meeting is not just your regular Toastmasters meeting, it's also to introduce Toastmasters to SEEK International. And I believe the way the program was structured, it has demonstrated that Toastmasters is a learning experience. None of us is perfect. We all make mistakes. We all sometimes fall short of the expectations of our role, the expectations of our speech, but that's just an indication that we can grow. And I really, really admire Nana with his might and main for pushing through, even though it appeared that he had gone probably a bit to the left of what he had done. He was still enthusiastic about it, which is something that we can all learn. And I hope that you appreciate the fact that the existing Toastmasters made this environment safe for not only you, but also the audience, so that you know that this is not a place to condemn, but always a place that we're going to lift each other up. So that is what I would like to say with regards to the meeting. On what we could do better, I think it's general Zoom etiquette, which is just making sure we're on mute when we're not speaking. Because being in a Zoom meeting and not being on mute is like people hearing the things going on in your head when you're in a meeting, because we all hear all the background noise, and sometimes we hear things we're not supposed to hear. So that's just something that we have to bear in mind, not only for Toastmasters meetings, but also all meetings that we attend virtually. And also, because this was a demo meeting, I think for Mr. Toastmaster Evans, it would have been appreciated if you had explained some of the rudiments of Toastmasters, like what is a prepared speech and what the difference between a prepared speech and something like a table topic session is, just so that the speakers know exactly what we were talking about when we mentioned that. I'm a Toastmaster, so I understood, but I often wondered whether the audience understood exactly what you meant by a prepared speech. So as I said, these are all things that we use to make ourselves better. And specific to this meeting, seekers, we hope that this has shown you what Toastmasters is all about, and we'll be receiving the invitations for your charter party very soon. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator, for that insightful feedback. I end by telling you a story. This morning, I reflected on my life, and my reflection took me to that moment when I decided to join Toastmasters. I was then an undergrad. I did my first prepared speaker. At the end of the speech was that resounding applause. I thought I had done something well. The title of my speech was Kinako. We had just come back from South Africa, the World Cup, and Kinako was the slogan. So I adopted it and I added a bit to it by saying, it's my time. It was my time to tell members that there's a young man who was willing to learn and grow. And that is 10 years ago. 3 months will be exactly 10 years ago in April. Fellow seekers, my brothers and sisters on this call, it's not going to start today and end tomorrow. It will take some time. Don't be so hard on yourself. That's why I go back to my story. At the end of that presentation, besides the applause, an old man at the time in his 80s walks up to me and said, "Young man, would you like to be my friend?" And guess who I'm referring to? Mr. Joe Latte. Over to you. A seasoned commentator, and I have had the privilege of learning at his feet from then till now, because he is the co-founder of the first Toastmasters Club in Ghana. Happily, Selassie is the president of that club. Interestingly, a Joe Latte Toastmasters Club has been formed, and Gifty, who was also the evaluator, happens to be the president of that club. On that note, I came your way as the Toastmaster of the day. The theme for today has been Seek Right, and there cannot be a better place to seek than in Toastmasters. Over to you, Mr. Founder of SEEK International.
Thank you, Evans. I know that I'm being evaluated now, so I'm careful. But it's been a great experience, and I underestimated the power of such a session on Zoom. I didn't know it was going to be as effective. I was telling Dansoa that if this was in person, after my icebreaker, I would have to crawl home because I felt very exposed. But then I'm going to ignore anyone who calls me Mr. Shu or Archimedes or Bob Nose or whatever. What I'm going to acknowledge is the feedback from, already I can feel the impact of the session on my speech already. So I also appreciate every feedback to everyone. And I hope that, no, I don't hope, but I'm sure that we're going to move
This is time for networking. Please, let's see you when you meet me somewhere. It will be fair that I can also identify you. Yeah, the meeting has officially ended.
Yeah.
Deborah, now is the moment. You've not been anywhere. Yes, it was such a time that you were supposed to be in Toastmasters. So you've not missed much. There's still more room for improvement. Come on, let's see you. Let's see you. Let's see you. Let's see you. I like what Dansoa said. We'll be receiving a charter party invitation shortly. Yeah. By the way, I'm also a seeker. I'm on the platform. Today is Friday, and we've been receiving the wow moments from Clifford. Yeah.
I think I just want to, he just shared one.
Is Clifford on the?
Very interesting. No,
is he on the call?
He just shared one that said that male fetuses can get erections while in the womb. I'm like, okay.
Oh my goodness. All right. So I think at this point, if you have a question, or we have just about 5 minutes to do this. It's Friday evening. We don't want to take much of your time. If you have a question or an experience, maybe it is. That's why don't you think it's a good time to get feedback from the guest?
Yes.
As we have done.
I think that would be fine. In fact, that would.
Yes. This time it's not. You are not being evaluated. Just let us.
It's over, so there's no evaluation.
Yeah. No evaluation, so to say. Let us know how you felt, how the meeting was for you. We are dropping 22 now. Hey, Ram Jima. Frank, I see you want to say something. At exactly 7:30, we are ending.
Yeah. Can I?
Yes, please proceed.
Can I speak?
Frank.
Yeah, good evening. And yeah, this evening I've learned quite a lot of things. My friend is Ken, and I've not known Ken that much, but today I've known a lot of things about Ken, and I really know who Ken is now. It's so exciting. It's so exciting knowing who Ken is now. But one of the things I have always desired in life is my career is how to be a good speaker. And I didn't know what this meeting was about, but hearing Toastmasters, and I think that it's a right platform for me to develop my speaking ability, and I look forward in becoming
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank.
Deborah has her hand.
Who is it?
Okay. Yes, Deborah here. So it was a really exciting time we had here, and I particularly like the fact that after everyone made their presentation, there was the like the various vocabularies that came up. So if not anything, at least you leave here with new words learned. You leave here with how to better express yourself, and generally it has been really great, and I can't wait for the next session.
Thank you, Deborah, for that feedback. Anyone else?
Yes, so Dansoa, I just want to say that for all the seekers who joined the meeting today, I have their contact details. So we're going to keep everybody in the loop, and we're going to give you detailed feedback. And also, I believe that whatever information that needs to be communicated, everybody will receive the information. So that's the assurance I want to give. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think one thing I would add, although about quite a number of people have dropped off. So this is a demo meeting, as we've mentioned. There can be subsequent meetings before the charter, just again, so that people warm up to what it is that we do, how a meeting generally takes place. And as we had discussed with you, Kenneth, there will be guidance every step of the way. Even after chartering, there would be a team assigned to the SEEK-Toastmasters, whatever you decide to call it. There would be a team assigned to the club to make sure that you get your footing and can stand firmly on your own before, you stand independent as a club, within with your own executives and all of that. And so anyone who was unable to join for this session, I think with discussions with you and obviously Evans, we can have regular meetings set up in a path to charter. Like we mentioned, it could be a 3-month path, it could be a 2-week path, whatever works for SEEK. So we're here to give you all the support that you need to make sure that your objective is achieved. I think you're on mute.
But Ken, how come you are the only one doing all the talking on behalf of me, SEEK? I beg your pardon.
Yeah, they have to. Well, you guys, you have to speak.